Hello everyone, welcome back. If you don't know, we make sewing patterns made especially for drag queens. Today I'm going to show you how to sew our new 80s shoulder leotard. Perfect for a sexy, revealing outfit. This pattern is available in sizes extra small to double extra large, and is sized for drag queens. However, it can be worn by any gender that fits within the size measurements provided. You can download this pattern at katkow.net. Let's get started. Once you download and print the pattern, you can assemble the pages. For detailed instructions on printing and assembly, watch this video linked at the top. Once assembled, you should have the following paper pattern pieces. 1 front piece, 1 back piece, 1 sleeve piece, 1 collar piece, 1 shoulder piece, 1 shoulder interfacing piece, 1 waistband, 1 front thong, and 1 back thong piece. For fabrics, I'm going to use a semi-stretch lightweight black fabric. This one is great for draping in gathers. For notions, I'm going to use an ultra-firm interfacing. It's very thick, almost like cardboard. You'll also need elastic for the waistband, 2 inches wide. And up to 4 pairs of pre-made shoulder pads for an exaggerated look. Or you can use a minimum of 2 pairs. And snaps for the back collar. Use the paper pattern pieces to cut out your fabric, following the suggested cut amounts. For the sleeve, you will cut 2 mirrored pieces cut on a fold. For the front thong, you will also cut 2 pieces. And for the back thong, cut 2 pieces. For the shoulder, you will cut 4 pieces. 2 for the shell, and 2 for the lining, for each shoulder side. For the collar, you will cut 1 piece. For the waistband, you will cut 2 on a fold. And 2 front pieces. As well as 2 back pieces. For sewing, you first want to prepare the front and back darts. Trace the dart guides and pin the darts. Then sew them in place for the 2 back pieces. Once the darts are sewn, press them downward with a light heat. Next, serge the center back edge, and the side edge where the dart is. You can also choose to serge all edges of your fabric pieces at this time. Once you've serged those edges, sew a rolled hem along the dart side and the center back edge. Simply fold over the serged edge once or twice, and top stitch it down. Then repeat for the front pieces as well. Gather the front thong and back thong shell and lining pieces. Sew the front and back pieces together along the crotch seam, with the right sides of the fabric facing each other. Once sewn, stack the shell and lining, right sides facing each other. Sew only along the sides, leaving the opposite ends open so you can flip it right side out. Use a stretch stitch, a lightning bolt stretch stitch, or a small zigzag stitch for this. Then flip the thong right side out. Gently press the edges with an iron. Next, gather 1 waistband piece, the shell waistband piece. You'll notice the bottom edge of the waistband is where you'll attach the front thong. Between those notches, flip the waistband over so the right side is facing the top edge of the front thong. Sew that in place using a stretch stitch. Once sewn, fold the waistband vertically in half, right sides facing each other. Sew the ends close to create a waistband loop. Once that loop is created, pin the back thong to the bottom edge of the back of the waistband. Sew that in place. Now attach the lining layer of the waistband, following the same notches. Sandwich the thong between the two waistband layers, right sides facing each other. Sew those in place again, this time all around the bottom edge of the waistband. Once sewn, flip it right side out. Next, gather your elastic. You can measure the elastic to your liking. Normally, it's about 1 to 2 inches shorter than the total length of the waistband. But it really depends on how comfortable or how tight you want it around your waist. Once you've measured the elastic, sew the ends together to create a loop. Then insert that elastic between the two waistband layers. Pin it in place for now. Next, we're going to prepare the shoulder interfacing pieces. I'm using an ultra-firm fusible interfacing. However, I will not be fusing the interfacing to the fabric. Instead, for a more stiff look, I'm going to fuse 2 pieces together for each shoulder. I cut out 4 interfacing pieces. Then, fused 2 of them together with the glue sides facing each other. This leaves me with 2 very sturdy shoulder pieces. Next, we can sew the shoulder shell and lining pieces together, where we'll insert the interfacing later. First, we want to create tunnels. Stack the shell and lining shoulder pieces wrong sides facing each other. Sew them only along the top and bottom edges to create a tunnel. Then, insert the interfacing inside and make adjustments as needed. Finally, sew the sides together, securing the interfacing inside. Next, we can start to attach the front and back pieces to the shoulders. First, you want to baste stitch the shoulder edge of the front piece to create gathers. Baste stitch by hand, using a long running stitch. You can do 1 row or 2 rows. This will help you gather the fabric to match the width of the shoulder piece. Once it's to your liking, sew the shoulder to the gathered piece, right sides facing each other. This fabric was a bit difficult to sew on my machine with the gathers, so you may need to sew it in place by hand. Once sewn, serge the raw edges. Then repeat for the back shoulder gather pieces. Once attached, lay the assembly right side up. Now start attaching the sleeve. Pin the front underarm to the sleeve edge, right sides facing. The notch below the armpit will be a straight stitch for both the front and back. However, for the sleeve cap, you'll need to gather that. Sew the straight stitches first. Then gather with a baste stitch around the sleeve cap. Leave a ½ inch on each side of the sleeve armpit, to allow you to sew the inner sleeve seam closed later. Once sewn, you can then sew the inner sleeve seams closed. Sew from the armpit down to the wrist. Then repeat for the opposite side. You can then flip the assembly right side out. Once both sides are complete, we can attach the top pieces to the waistband. The front pieces will attach to the top edge of the waistband. You will notice there should be a small gap of notches. This is because the front ends should not touch. They are designed to have a small gap. The front bottom edge is gathered all the way to the outer notch. Simply gather, pin, and sew those in place. Repeat for the back edges as well. The back bottom edges should touch along the center back seam of the waistband. Once the back gathers are sewn, we can sew the shell and lining waistband closed along the top edge. Fold in the 1/2 inch seam allowance inward, with the elastic in between the 2 layers, and pin all around. Once pinned, top stitch using a stretch or zigzag stitch. Your leotard should look like this. Next, we can attach the collar. For the collar, you'll notice there are many notches. I placed a pin on the side of the collar with excess fabric for the snap. The center front should have a small gap in between. Start pinning the front pieces to the collar, right sides facing each other. Match the notches to the seams. Sew them in place, then attach the opposite side. There should be excess fabric on this end for the snap. Once sewn, flip the collar fabric vertically, right sides facing each other. And sew the ends together. Once the ends are sewn, flip the collar right side out. Then fold inward the bottom edges, 1/2 inch. Pin all around the collar and top stitch using a stretch or zigzag stitch, sandwiching the front, shoulder, and back pieces inside the collar. Next, we can add snaps. The excess end of the collar should be layered underneath. Add a male snap to the left side. Then add a female snap to the side underneath with the excess fabric. Once the snaps are installed, you can hem the sleeves using a rolled hem. You can then add shoulder pads. Gather at least 2 to 4 pre-made shoulder pads and tack them together with a few hand tacks. Then sew those to the lining layer of the shoulder piece. Or use Velcro, whichever you prefer. And just like that, your 80s shoulder leotard is complete. Feel free to experiment with different fabrics and embellishments to make it your own. Please tag us in your creations at Katkow on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more drag queen sewing patterns and tutorials.